first thing that we should do is use the tools that we already know from the previous tunes we've learned. And the first thing that's the easiest and sounds really great is open string droning. So on the A part, we can basically drone the open A or the open E the whole time. On the first phrase, we're going to keep our bow on both strings, there we go, the whole time. So the melody is on the E, we'll put our bow on the A string, on both strings. And we play the D and the C sharp. Just make sure that you're on your fingertips so you can keep playing the E string above it. Okay, let's try that. Ready? And... Great, okay. Same thing for the second phrase, with the exception, here's where the 5 chord is. So since the 5 chord is an E chord, and we spell it E, G sharp, B, we need to make sure that the double stop, or the other note that we're playing, is in that chord. So we can't play open A. We should put our first finger down on a B on the A string, which would sound like this. Okay, ready, and... Great, third phrase is the same as the first. Let's do that. Great, and then the fourth phrase, we can start playing the open A and E again, for that much, and then we cross over for the G. You can either keep your first finger down on the B note, and then drone up to the fourth finger and open A, which we've done. So let's try that first. Open E, drone above this, G, right, and then roll up to the A. Great. So let's try the whole A part with open drones. Ready? And... Again, this is a tune that's played often in American traditions in both old-time and bluegrass styles. I'm definitely playing it in a much more old-time style than bluegrass. And one thing that's really special and really fantastic about old-time music is that it's really, it starts before the bar line, and the music was always pushing forward. And so instead of starting every phrase on the beat, which we've been doing, we're tapping our foot, 1, 2, 3, 4. Starting with the beat, we can start before it. Give that a shot. We're starting before the beat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Nice, great. Now I wouldn't necessarily do that every single time. It's a good exercise to try it out on every phrase, but have fun mixing them up with B part variations. Let's see, we've just ended with our fourth finger droning our A and our open A. Now the melody starts on an A. So we could actually stay with that drone that we already have down from the fourth phrase. So we could just stay there and do the same droning type of thing. Makes a big, thicker sound. And then the same drone that we know from the A part with the open strings. So let's give that a shot. Fourth fingers, ready, and... Good. Again, open strings. And then this is our 7 chord spot. So we want to make sure that it sounds, and our 7 chord is our G chord, G, B, D. The melody is a G. So we can either drone on the A string above it with our first finger B, or we can hit the open G below it. Okay, so that would sound like with the top note, or just different sounds. And then you could also even play the B below that. So any one of those chord tones will work for that double stop. So let's try it with the B above it for the first time. Ready, open A and E. Great, okay, now let's try, this time we'll try with the open G below it. And then this time with the B below it. And great. And what's fun is that you don't really know what the person next to you is going to do, so you can just pick one and it will be sound like a really nice full chord. Okay. And then we have our third finger down. That's our last note of the second phrase. So we can go from our third finger right back to our fourth finger. And we already know how to do the fourth phrase, so let's do that. Nice, good. So let's try the whole B part with open drums. Ready? And... we'll go ahead of the beat. Okay? 1, 2, and we'll start with the fourth finger again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice, so that's two things. The other thing that I'm doing is a very common bow pattern for old-time tunes, which is called a rock-up at the end of phrases. We've talked about how we want to start a phrase on a down bow and end the phrase on an up bow, so we can start the next phrase on a down bow. So at the end of a lot of phrases, a lot of old-time players will use this bowing called a rock-up, which is really just an up bow, but it's got two sounds, rock-up, or... So that's a rock-up. So what I'm doing is playing an up bow, one note, and we can do, let's just try this on an open A. So you're playing an up bow, and then you're pushing in the middle of the stroke again. Right. So you can do that on one string or two strings. If you're doing it on two strings, we do the A. So what's happening is we're playing a down bow, and then on the up bow, on the rock up part, you hit the double stop. So it's like this extra oomph on the and, it's off the beat, and then and it's the double stop, so it's louder. Okay, so let's try it starting on a down bow. Good, so it's down, rock up. Great, so putting that, I could put that on a lot of ends of the phrases. So if I play the tune, I'll show you where there's places to do rock ups. Rock up. Rock up. Sorry, do the one there. So there's lots of little places to put them. The next thing that we could do is another rhythm thing, which is adding shuffles into spaces that have repeated notes. So like the B part has all those open A's, or the melody note is an A repeatedly, so we could change the rhythm on it. And the shuffle is basically a groove pattern. I like to think of grooves as something that we're imposing, a rhythm that we're imposing over a grid. So there's a groove and a grid, and our grid should be running constant eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it's just like this chugga 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 thing that's happening inside our bodies. And so whatever accent or whatever emphasis we put on that grid, and whatever syllable, 1 or and or 2 or and 3 or and or 4 and, provides the groove. So a shuffle groove is when we're putting an accent on beats 2 and 4. So if we're doing something that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, so the accent on those syllables provides a shuffle. The there's lots of different ways to bow it, but the groove stays the same the whole time. So a way to work on that is just playing any note, but starting with 8 notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and no groove, just constant 8 notes. So this is the grid, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I would recommend trying to tap your feet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and going back and forth. And notice when you pick your feet up, that's 2 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so we're going to start shouting with our bows on those syllables, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and let's try that, 1 and 2 and 3 and go and 1 and 2 and good. Great. So this is a shuffle, this groove. Now there's lots of different ways to play this groove. What we might do, instead of doing all 8 notes with our bow, is start doing quarter notes and 8 notes. Right. But the groove's still the same because it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's still a shuffle. Still a shuffle groove, even though we're doing a different bowing. And then back to the 8 notes, 1 and 2. Right. And then the other ones oftentimes are called potatoes. So this is a potato. 1 potato, 2 potato. Right. So putting that shuffle groove in repeated, in places where there are repeated notes is a really great thing too. So a way to do that would be shuffling. Alright, so let's go back and forth playing the tune. Okay. Let's have you play the melody first. Okay, and I'll play the chords. And just as a reminder, the chords in the A part are just 1 and 5. When we get to the halfway point, the chordal corner is going to be the 5 chord to ask a question. We come back, and at the end, we're hitting 5, 1. Okay, to make it sound complete. And then in the B part, in that corner, we're going to hit 7 instead of 5, which is our G chord. And then at the end, again, 5, 1. But I'll play those chords first. And you get a chance to do whatever you'd like for the melody. You can play the simple melody, or you can start embellishing it. And just as a reminder, we always have open string embellishments, and we can anticipate for embellishments. And then we could also add maybe a rock up at the end of a phrase and put a shuffle in if you'd like to. So we have 4 different options, and you can do however many you'd like, wherever you'd like. Okay, 1 and 2, and here we go.